going back to that like 15 years ago, you would have people that would be eating really whole food items, taking dairy out completely, um, really doing a lot of things right, and they were still really struggling with their skin and sometimes a lot of other health issues as well. But that would be some of the main things that we would see is that, you know, previously back in the 90s, you could make some of those tweaks for a very short period of time and get a really amazing result. And these are things people didn't even have to, stick to long term necessarily. And they would still have these amazing results. It would almost be kind of like a reset for the body. And of course, like we never encouraged people to go out and eat a bunch of garbage after they got finished with their skin clearing up, but they just would, kind of recognize that they didn't have to be so strict and they would still have those results. And then, like I shared probably 15 years ago, people were really, really very disciplined with their diet and still they were having those issues.
When you were originally doing that, what kind of results are we talking about? You said their skin cleared up. Is it like minor acne, or was it bigger things that were improved with
Yeah.
just, and you said it's like 3 months, cut out some dairy. What other kind of things did they do, and what kind of, results did people see?
So my original, work as an esthetician was working under the lady that was my mentor originally, and she owned a skincare clinic. So we saw all kinds of, eczemas, really severe acnes. I mean, you kind of name it, like the full gamut. And and so there were a number of different, skin challenges that people would come see us at that clinic for. But interestingly, even back then, um, a lot of the same dietary shifts, kind of similar to your story, initially would really have a cascading effect on whether it was eczema or acne or, all of those different skin challenges really benefited greatly from just, I think, probably bringing down the inflammation and giving the body more of the nutrition that it actually needs, right? With more of that whole foods diet. So we would see really complete resolution of these things with I would say compared to what clients are having to do now with minimal effort, right? Um, it wasn't even as strict as like say the GAPS diet, for instance, which is a fantastic program, fantastic diet, but they didn't even have to do like anything that disciplined in order to get some of these results. And so, like I said, they would get full resolution. Now, obviously, we would work with things topically too. There was some light therapy that this esthetician had in this clinic, which was from Europe and not real commonly used here, which is real supportive of some of those skin conditions as well. But as you know, you could be doing topical therapies all day long, and if you don't address the internal piece, you're just not going to get very far.
Right, right. Absolutely. So, and soon here, I want to fast forward and get to more like present day, what's working and what people are needing to do with you. But the reason I'm asking about what used to work is because I think this will be, there's so many people who read a book or read a blog or hear a podcast and like, okay, I need to cut out dairy, like you said earlier. And they do it and they get, a little change or maybe none at all. And they're like, oh, this, none of this works because they're following the steps, but it's just not happening. So I think it makes sense that, at one point it did, and that's why, people hear about these things, but maybe today it's not enough. So why do you think that's changed? Why do you think it's not enough today and there's more that needs to be done?
You know, it's so interesting because when I was kind of having some of my own health challenges, which I shared earlier, were kind of coincided simultaneously with things going on with clients. I didn't know what all of the answers were either, but I did recognize that people were more stressed, right? And I felt more stressed. I think it was a time when like the smartphone started becoming a thing. You're checking email from your phone. There's just more coming at you. One of the things that I remember thinking distinctly is, years ago when I was younger, when you asked somebody how they were, the automatic response wasn't busy. And now, and really for probably the past 15 years, maybe longer, the response has been that people are busy. I don't know that that's a healthy thing, but that's like kind of a cultural norm, right? So interesting to kind of look at that
Oh
now,
yeah.
yeah, and see how that's factored in, right? So I think now, like after having all of the functional medicine training and seeing the different moving parts of what's going on with people individually, I think it really comes down to stressors being chemical, so some of the toxins that we're exposed to environmentally, emotional stressors. So there's a lot going on in the world that can contribute to that for sure. And just going back to even we're being bombarded with technology, I think can kind of play into that emotional stress too. If people are reading things on social media, that's can be like an emotional stressor, and then physical stressors. So we see people that are meaning well by exercising, which I'm a huge advocate of, but maybe they're trying to get results with things and actually doing more harm or just pushing the body's limits with, when we say physical stressors, maybe even like lack of sleep. And because that's something that's very common in our culture today as well, is living on, minimal amount of sleep. And obviously that doesn't support our design either. So I think the crux of it, most people's issues are one of those three things, or more likely a combination of all of those three things. And just really trying to dial in with lab work and assessments, and really getting to know what's going on with the client, like what that looks like for them and how best to address it.